Cool. All right. So best use of shade. I think you're the king of shade when it comes to online comments on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I think you like to keep it real. It's what people love about the show. It's what they love about you. I think that you're probably one of the few people who actually their real muscles in real life are as big as their social media muscles. I've had many of uncomfortable conversations with you in person with people that I think that many people are afraid to or drive away from, which is what I love about you. But let me ask you this. Shade is not something you can just simply throw on, throw through just a Twitter conversation. You can use it in advertising. So I want you to talk me through what companies used shade and how they should use it and how it applies to our industry.
Sure. So shade, just for people that, not as up on the lingo, just kind of taking a shot at your competitor,
Yep.
kind of rolling your eyes at the competition, right? It's kind of a modern way to say, throwing mud at them a little bit, if you will, from back in the day. But there were two commercials, Jimmy, that threw shade. And I think the one that was super obvious was Bud Light. I mean, what they did by making fun of Miller Lite and Coors using corn syrup
Yeah.
was probably the best tactic of the night. They basically took this thing that people are already kind of hearing is bad for you,
Yeah.
that was already in the beer, that they literally don't have. So they're not even marketing what they have. They're marketing what the competitor has that they don't. And in that case, obviously, just the general connotation of corn syrup is it has a negative connotation. It's too sweet. It's not good for you. That's kind of the way people think about corn syrup. So the Bud Light Shade Fest and the way that they deployed it, where they didn't say Miller Lite sucks, they didn't say Coors Light sucks, they stated a fact. They said that they use corn syrup, and that's just true. So, like, as an example, I'm going to give a couple tips in a second, but like, it is a true statement that a lot of real estate agents still use AOL. It is
Yeah.
it is a true statement that a lot of agents still want you to come down to the office to sign the paperwork. It's a true statement that a lot of real estate agents still look for fax machines when it's time to get a deal done. So like when it's just a true thing about the others, that's when I think it's really effective. It's like not even really shade. It was just true. And it was a clever angle. There was another one though, and this one was a little harder to identify, but Audi. Jimmy, can we say this on the air? You drive an Audi? Can we put that out
Yeah.
there?
We
Okay.
pronounce it Audi, but yes,
Audi. Okay. Audi. So how do you pronounce it?
Audi.
Audi. Okay.
Yeah,
So you
Audi.
drive an Audi.
Yes.
And Audi had a commercial about their electric cars. They put out a big stat. Hey, by this year, this percentage of our cars will do this.
Yeah.
On a total side note, that's a really good tactic, like
Yeah.
future casting. Hey, by 2022, we're going to be helping 500 families a year buy a house.
Yeah.
Like I like that technique just in general, but they threw a little bit of shade, and they said, we believe there's still a lot of work to be done on Earth. Okay. On Earth. And if you think about, like, if you're getting into the electric car business, you're up against Tesla. And so the shade that they threw, which was so subtle, was Elon Musk is worried about Mars. We're worried about Main Street.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is trying to do these really noble futuristic things about space. But at the end of the day, we think there's work to be done here on Earth. I thought that was really smart shade. It was appropriate shade.
Yeah.
And it felt fair. And by the way, one way to know if you should send shade, do they send shade? Like, is
Yeah.
the brand hip? Is the brand like, so Elon Musk is like the king of shade on Twitter. So I
he
thought
is.
it played really well. But like, the takeaway is, what are the problems people avoid by working with you? So
Yeah.
they use AOL and fax machines. We use iPhones and DocuSign. Or they need you to meet up at the office. We actually meet you where you want to be, and we don't even come. I remember signing for my first house at my cousin's softball game using DocuSign. So I think it's kind of marketing some things that are already true that
Yeah.
are kind of Captain Obvious, but we forget to say them.
Yeah, well, the thing that comes to mind when you say all that too is this idea that this is the subtle tactic, because there's the difference between, as you described perfectly, like Miller Lite sucks, we're better. that makes you look petty. It makes you
Yep.
look pathetic. It makes you look jealous. Like all the things you don't want your brand to be associated with. But the other side of that is that if you can pick out something that is universally hated and that your customers are annoyed by, or they have strong opinions about, then that's your sort of spearhead into this sort of shade angle. So people, I think generally speaking, unless you're in the Midwest and you're part of Big Corn, which they were tweeting back at Bud Light, throwing some Big Corn shade, like which no one cares about at that point, like people generally associate corn syrup with being unhealthy for you. So you don't, when you drink a beer, you don't want it to have corn syrup in it, and you're not really even trashing Miller Lite. You're saying like they're using it, and the consumer. I know now I'm looking at mine. Does this have corn syrup in it?
Exactly. They've got people checking labels. I mean, I'm telling you, it may have been the ad of the night. I think a lot of people loved it. But here's a good analogy, and then also how you can use it as an agent.
Yeah.
So like, it's a universal truth, Jimmy, that a lot of people think realtors are overpaid. And so like a Captain Obvious statement from a real estate agent should be, you don't pay us. Like if you're talking to buyers, like you don't pay us. And so that's one of those things that I think, because we're not in the industry, you know, all 7 years in between transactions, you forget sometimes to state that obvious stuff, like an obvious truth that goes against a negative myth. The other one, you call it the Trump tactic. You know, like really pigeonholing your opponent as who they actually are. He used this brilliantly with Jeb Bush. Low energy, right? People immediately would think of low energy as a negative thing. And also it was sort of true. Like Jeb Bush's energy and enthusiasm levels were lower.